and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. This is what's coming up on the program right now. Detained Joe Ajaero and risks nationwide strike. Nigeria Labour Congress wants police authorities put members and affiliates on high alert following his president summoned by the police over terrorism financing and treasonable felony allegation in an ongoing investigation in which he was mentioned. There is no petrol supply anywhere. Chairman or depot of IPMAN raises alarm over unavailability of a premium motor spirit, says corruption hampering development in the sector and the need for total overhaul is now. And come to our aid, the youths in Ibana local government area in Akwa Ibom State cry out, hit the street to protest over the recent oil spillage in the area, demanding immediate cleanup and intervention from international oil companies, the government, and international bodies. Thank you for staying with us on the program. In just a moment, we will show you a crowd of unionists at the headquarters of the Nigeria Labour Congress in Abuja singing solidarity songs following the invitation of its national president, Mr. Joe Ajaero, by the Nigerian police over terrorism financing and treasonable felony allegation in an ongoing invitation where he was mentioned. The NLC leadership has now put its members and affiliates on red alert, threatening nationwide strike should the police detain the NLC president, Mr. Joe Ajaero. The NLC, however, promises to honor the invitation, but directs its lawyers to request for time of extension from the police. On Monday, the police had extended an invitation to Mr. Ajaero concerning an ongoing investigation where it was mentioned over allegations of subversion, terrorism financing, cybercrime, and treasonable felony. And failure to honor the summons, the police say, will result in issuance of a warrant of arrest, a situation that led to this morning's emergency meeting by the NLC and some of its leaders.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. There is victory for all. There is victory for all. In the struggle for our members, there is victory for all.
Well, from that particular protest, we had all solidarity songs they are singing in Abuja. Let's head down south to Akwa Ibom State, where youth in Ibana communities have taken to the street to protest the recent oil spillage in the area. They're demanding immediate cleanup and intervention from the international oil companies, the IOCs, as well as the government, including international bodies. The protesters, led by the paramount ruler of Ibana and youth leaders, are not happy with the IOC's negligence towards the host communities. Those are their words, citing devastating impact of the oil spillage on their livelihood. The people say they are tired of IOC's lack of concern for their well-being, noting that the oil spillage has destroyed their farmlands, rivers, and forests, leaving them without any sort of income or food.
Presently, we are not here to indict any oil company. Ours is to take sample and identify the spiller. And when we identify the spiller, trust me, I want to say trust me, I say that once again. That's why I told you that this is your brother from South. We will ensure that whoever that is the spiller will do the needful. And as I take out from here and visit this site, I want to assure you that cleanup exercise will commence almost immediately. And so my appeal to our people is to maintain peace.
That was actually the DJ of Nasra, Emeka Woke, who was speaking on behalf of the federal government as to what the federal government will do as far as that intervention is concerned. But as soon as we're able to get the chairman of the traditional ruler, the people involved, I mean the community, will bring you up to speed with their own remark as far as this is concerned. Let's move on from there. That following the scarcity of petrol across the country, the Independent Petrol Marketers Association of Nigeria, that's IPMAN, says its members do not get enough supply from the NNPCL. The chairman of IPMAN, or Depot, Mr. Shinamo, who was guest on our breakfast program, The Morning Brief, explains how the NNPCL is currently the sole importer of petroleum products and has failed to supply its members with adequate products capable of catering for the activities of its members, leaving them with no choice but to buy from private depots at premium, that is higher price.
There is no supply anywhere. For now, the little supply available is not well distributed. We have been making noise about this distribution pattern long ago, especially we had a kind of arrangement before now, where we used to enjoy 70-30, that is independent marketer, based on our strength. Based on our strength, if you go to maybe areas like villages, urban area, you see a lot of independent marketers where you may not be able to find any major or any semi-major. So for now, the supply available, we can't even talk of IPMAN now about the supply. We are not being considered about the supply because go around, you could not see, if you have 50 petrol stations, you take a sample at random, 50 petrol stations from your population, as a population, you discover that only 3 or 8 could be selling products. And this product we are selling, we are getting them at premium. Virtually all the location we are buying the product from, they sell to us at the price they wish to sell, from the neighborhood of 750 to 850. All depends on the depot you are buying from. All the private depots, we have been suffering more than enough over years. Instead of getting the product at the rate of 567 or so from NNPC, none of us could get product from NNPC over 2 to 3 years. If we could get any that could be loaded from NNPC directly, when you pay your draft today, you may end up picking that product in the next 3 to 5 months. So the product will have been eroded, the profit will have been eroded away. So we all prefer to go and be lining up in any private depot. I don't want to be mentioning their names. They sell the product to independent marketer at marketers at premium, 850, 800, 830. That is the situation for now.
So that's the latest from the operators. That is what they have found themselves in. But the NNPCL is saying that the Port Harcourt refinery will start producing premium motor spirit from next month. That is September. I remember they had said August. Now, according to the company, the refinery has begun production, and the product will soon be submitted to regulators for certification before being released into the market. NNPCL also released its 2023 audited financial accounts, reporting a profit before tax of around 3.3 trillion naira, as it aims to boost crude oil production from 1.5 to about 2 million barrels per day, increasing earnings in the next financial year. The chief financial officer, Mr. Ajaero, dismissed claims about subsidy payment. He clarified that the company was only paying and covering the PMS importation shortfall between the NNPCL and the Federation.
No one has been paid kobo by NNPCL in the name of subsidy. That means no marketer has received money from us by way of subsidy. What has been happening is that we've been importing PMS, landing at a certain price, at a cost price, and government is telling us to sell it at half price. So the delta between that landed price and the half price is what we call shortfall, or call it subsidy. And the deal is between Federation and ourselves to reconcile, and sometimes they give us money, sometimes we do net ups. So there is no money exchanging hands to any marketer or anybody in the name of subsidy. 2023 highlights. We had a 23.9 trillion naira revenue or turnover, which resulted in a gross profit of 7 trillion, net operating profit of 4.3 trillion, and profit before tax of 5.9. Consequently, we ended the year with 3.297 trillion naira as profit after tax. We do have enough barrels to satisfy domestic refineries as long as they can produce PMS for Nigerians to consume. So we do not have to import.
Okay, so that is the CFO, Chief Financial Officer of the NNPCL. So I'm trying to understand what he's saying in one fell swoop. So subsidy is basically the government paying so that you can buy fuel at a cheaper price. That's what subsidy is. So if the NNPCL has imported fuel and government says, reduce the price so that people can afford it, but I'll give you the money, how is that not subsidy? Okay, maybe the economist will explain that to me, but let me bring in my guest who may be able to profile and give me an understanding as well. Dachong Bagos is a former lawmaker who represented Just South, Just East Federal Constituency. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Dachong, Honorable, I know you're laughing, but help me understand the explanation. Maybe it's an economic term that lay people may not understand. So what do you make of the NNPCL's CFO before we get to the issue of scarcity itself?
Yeah, well, Geoffrey, you rightly said an economist, and I'm a politician, but let me come from the political point of view in the first instance, that as a politician, when we did the PIA, we made NNPC to be a private company with the federal government having the highest shares. So that is the first instance we need to understand, that NNPC is a private, it's a company as it stands today. And with the terminology that you will understand from what the CFO want, and I want to speak from a patriotic point of view, that this is a company that we have as Nigerians. How is it working? How can we make it work? So if I want to take from the point of view that the CFO have just made mention, is that they are not paying subsidy again to private individuals, to the cabals that used to operate within the industry. So this is a company with the Nigerian government having the highest number of shares. So they are now saying that, look, this is a Nigerian company that we want you to give Nigerians PMS at a certain price. We take the burden. So whatsoever that terminology will be, either it's subsidy or either it's a fallback or whatever terminology. But the major thing that we as Nigerians have been crying about the previous wealth subsidies, that these monies have been going to private individuals. So if this is now handled by government, is a deal between government and NNPC, which is a company, then further explanation needs to come into play. And being patriotic on this very matter again, Geoffrey, it's knowing very well what are the do's and don'ts. And this is where legislation needs to come into place again. Nigeria needs to have a subsidy bill. Some other countries have it. The UK has a subsidy bill. The US have. So a subsidy bill in the sense that it's going to be a legislation to guide the federal government. This is where subsidy is needed. If it is subsidy, this is what you need to subsidize. Are you subsidizing in the oil sector? What are you subsidizing? This is what the law says in subsidizing this. Are you subsidizing in agriculture? Are you subsidizing in health? Are you subsidizing? So we need to guide the federal government in taking this issue of subsidy at all different levels or whatsoever interventions. But the major issue is that federal government needs to intervene in various quarters in terms of reaching out to the Nigerian people. So if it's trying to intervene within the oil sector by paying have the price of the landing costs just like the CFO, so be it. But we want to know as Nigerians, which is where the transparency that many people are asking, and for what the CFO have just said, I'm happy to hear from him that no money is going to cabals. And again, I'm excited to the fact that this is one of the major period, the exciting period that I'm seeing, that this company is now making profit. So if NNPC is making profit, which is a very good deal for us as Nigerians. So how can we channel the profit? What is it as people? It's now a company. It now shows that it's a reliable company for investors to invest into. So going forward, the possible solutions is that, do NNPC need more investors into the company so that Nigerians in general, as I'm sitting, I will get dividends, my dividend from investing into NNPC. So NNPC needs to go into the stock market, needs to do a lot of, because it's now a private company. So more legislation needs to come into place in terms of subsidy. More information again needs to get into that, so that the perception that subsidy is being paid to private individuals needs to clear the air, just like the CFO have been able to do so. So like I said, I want to be patriotic on this very matter as a Nigerian, that this is a Nigerian company that we want it to work.
Absolutely. We all want it to work. But the reality is that people are still queuing on the streets of Lagos and Abuja looking for fuel. And that has to do with the failure or the success of the NNPCL, which I want you to speak to as well before we move to other issues, because they've declared a 3.3 trillion naira. They declared 2.2 last year. But when we look at the operating margin, what is called operating margin in economics compared to their other counterparts, is not quite commendable. And as well, they are also in debt to some billions of dollars. And they're saying these are the monies they owe creditors, and it's a timeline. So there's a financial conversation that is quite difficult. There's also the issue of the feedstock that is also a challenge, because in the PSC sharing formula that we also have a challenge in that. I don't want to go to the detail because it's a bit of a complex conversation. But in basics, how much more do you expect from the NNPC here? Because as you've mentioned, people are worried about transparency. On one hand, you're hearing one thing. On the other hand, you're hearing another.
Yeah, well, from what NNPC said, because of as a result of the fuel queue, they talked about logistics, and I still want to go ahead to proffer a solution, Geoffrey, that if NNPC is talking about logistics, can federal government now give NNPC to go ahead that look, the next profit that will be declared, can it now have its own channel of sending its own products down different areas? If federal government cannot provide routes, if federal government cannot provide rail or pipelines, can NNPC as a company now look at, with its own profit, to look, how can we be able to bridge the gap? Because if logistics is the problem, as it earlier said, how can we now address the issues of logistics in terms of transporting these products, in terms of not, we're in the 21st century. For trucks to be queuing to get PMS, why can't we have pipelines? If pipelines will be vandalized, why can't we have the rail stations like you have in Russia, Germany, and other developed countries that can move these products to destinations that can be that the products can be gotten? So to be proffering solution to the NNPC challenge, it's what we need to come into place. So if logistics is one of the major problems that it said it has, let's look at how federal government will be able to give NNPC the go-ahead look. This time around, if you're declaring 3 trillion naira as profit, what can 3 trillion naira or half of it look into addressing the issue of rail, addressing the issue of pipelines, addressing the issue of road transportation? And so these are issues that, look, we shouldn't just sit and wait for government to do everything.
Honorable Dachong, let me come in here.
This is a company that investors are coming into. So we need to find a way out of it. Like I said, I'm a politician. So talking from the political point of view is that, look, my people need this product. NNPC as a politician, get this thing down to my people. Can you now can you have your own rail from your different
Honorable Dachong, if I may comment, at the end of the day, that is the aspiration. But I doubt if NNPC has money for CapEx, capital expenditure, because as we speak, even with the declaration of that profit for 2023, I know they are still seeking some loans, and which some experts are speculating that those loans are meant to use to pay debts. And when you look at the interest on those loans, as well as what they call risk premium that comes about 5%, 6% in total, it's still a cycle. That is why transparency is important. But let's move on from precursors.
And I think it's because of the pressure that we have put on the NNPC as one of the major sole source of income into the federation, because like now, what is the government doing in looking at the non-oil sector? Because once we are so burdened in one axis, that's the major problem that we'll be having. That how is the non-oil sector? And once we have the non-oil sector working to be able to reject the economy, we'll be able to look at to diversify. Because if NNPC is the major sustainable avenue into the federation account, I can tell you, no matter how many barrels that we are looking at, we always have a problem. So let's look at how we can diversify.
All right, Mr. Dachong, two issues. I must have your take on this. But the first has to do with the presidential jet. There were speculations as to this presidential jet issue until finally, yesterday, the federal government came clean. Bayo Nanuga, one of the spokespersons of the president, said they've actually acquired Airbus A330, and which is the plane the president traveled with to France. This is the first time he's traveling with that plane. I checked out the price of A330 without doing so much about, what do you call it, the customizing. It should come to over $200 and something million. In Nigeria, it's about 400 and something billion. But Bayo Nanuga said it's subsidized or it's discounted and it saved federal government money. We don't know how much it is, but the market price is over 400 billion. They say this is as a result of investigation done and the record showing that the president's plane is not in good shape. Is this the right time for this? Some people are saying we should also prioritize the safety of our president. Others say this is the wrong time. What do you say?
Yeah, well, with mixed feelings into these issues, in the sense that as much as we need our president to be safe, we need our president to be where he needs to be in good time and to be able to compete with other, to discuss issues in other nations. The mood of the country, it's very sensitive at the moment, Geoffrey. It's just like you tell your children in the morning that there is no breakfast, and in the evening you will come back with an SUV, and or no school fees, and in the evening you come back with a Lamborghini, and your children will be saying, we don't understand, Daddy, where did this come from? So the mood of the country at the moment, it's something that the president or the presidency needs to look into, how to be able to appeal to emotional intelligence of Nigerians. There is nothing wrong that if a president cannot even travel out for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, that look, because I cannot afford an aircraft to travel. Let that kind of message will even get to Nigerians that, the situation is serious. How can we all come to the table to discuss? I'm discussing with you via Zoom now. I'm not in Lagos spending 600,000 from Abuja just to be with you in studio. So what are other alternatives that our president can talk to other nations? So these are issues that the mood of the country at the moment, it's how sensitive it should be to the presidency, that look, if Nigerians are talking about let's reduce expenditure in the National Assembly, let's have one legislature so that they will reduce costs, are we looking at reducing costs in the executive? at the same time. So
right,
these
Mr.
are issues for me. It's not at the mood is not. It's not the right time for it.
All right, Mr.
As much as is necessary, but it's not the right time for it.
All right, we just have about 2 minutes. So, but I said one more thing before I let you go, because some people are complaining about him prioritizing his convenience over citizens' well-being. But let's talk about this back and forth between Joe Ajaero, NLC president, and the police. He's been summoned. We don't know whether he has gone there, but they are already having solidarity marches for him, saying that if they detain him, they are going on strike. Treasonable felony, subversion, cyber crime, and other charges against him. What do you make of this current situation? 1 minute.
For the NLC president, is a very wrong move, because this is someone that you all know his background, growing from as a journalist, moving into the electricity industry and working. And so you have every information about this gentleman. But the way police will now take him and tomorrow in and out of court and so on and so forth, just to weaken the NLC, I think is a wrong move, because now it will now create more tension within the country. It will no longer be NBAT governance protests by Nigerians. Now it will be released Ajaero by NLC, and everywhere again will still be shut down. So it's a very wrong move. If there were evidence that, look, this is what you are holding him up to, immediately that day you should be able to take him to court. So the invitation, why are you now inviting him? It's going to charge the polity. To me, it's a very wrong move at the wrong time, with just coming out of the NBAT governance.
Honorable Dachon Bagos, former member representing the federal constituency in Jos South and Jos Northeast constituency in Plateau State. I must thank you so much for coming through as always whenever you're called upon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Geoffrey, and I'm expecting you to send a private jet to take me to Lagos one of these days.
That's beyond my pay grade. Absolutely. But just before we go, let's bring you that story. Ibano youth protesting over the issue of oil spillage in their community, saying that the government must intervene. We had heard from the government. Let's see whether we can hear from the people.
Oil spill damages fishermen's products, destroy their nets accessories, kill oil fishes, destroy our seashore. And even today, a kilo of fish costs 5,000 naira, if not 6, which was, as at yesterday, 150, 100 naira. Today it's an expense of 5,000 to 6,000 naira. A poor man does not eat fish. Water in our land is contaminated. If you like go to Moro, tell them to drink from their tap, they won't drink because it's contaminated oil. Oil is everywhere in our land. That's why Tom and Dick, even the cats, want only one. That is what brought the issue of remapping because of oil and gas in the world. Tell the world that we are suffering in total servitude.
But that's a response from the Ibano community. Thank you so much for your time, and of course your usual company. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics.